It was a humid evening in Manila, the kind where the sunset painted the sky in deep gold and violet, and life on the crowded streets buzzed with the sounds of jeepneys, chatter, and distant laughter. Amid the noise, stood a frail 12-year-old boy named Liam, holding a weather-beaten guitar almost as tall as him. Its strings were mismatched, its body cracked, yet in his small hands, it carried something magical: hope. Liam had been playing on the same street corner for months. Every night, he would stand beneath the flickering lamppost outside a busy cafe, strumming songs that he had learned by ear. His mother, once a singer in small bars, had passed away 2 years ago, leaving him with nothing but her old guitar and the dream she'd whispered to him on her last day. Liam, promise me you'll never stop singing. Even when life gets quiet, you'll let your voice make the noise. He kept that promise, but life had not been kind. His father, heartbroken and jobless, disappeared soon after, leaving Liam to fend for himself. He survived by playing for coins, sometimes getting enough for rice, sometimes just stares of pity. Yet, he never complained. Music was his way of surviving, his invisible shield against loneliness. One Friday night, something was different. The cafe was hosting an open mic talent night. Inside, people were laughing, sipping coffee, and listening to young singers with microphones, lights, and applause. Liam stood outside the glass window, watching, his reflection overlapping with the glow of the stage. For a moment, he imagined himself there under those lights, playing not for coins, but for hearts. But who would let a street boy in? Still, destiny has its own rhythm. A kind waitress noticed him standing there. She opened the door and smiled gently. "Hey kid, you play guitar, right? Come in. Maybe you could try one song before we close." The cafe owner frowned from behind the counter. "Lara, this isn't a charity show." But the waitress didn't back down. "Just one song, sir. You'll see." Reluctantly, the owner sighed. "Fine. One song. And if people complain, it's on you." Liam's hands trembled as he stepped onto the small stage. He could feel everyone's eyes on him, the kind that judged, the kind that doubted. His shirt was torn, his slippers old, but in that moment, none of it mattered. He clutched his guitar, took a deep breath, and softly said into the mic, "Good evening. My name's Liam, and I'll sing my mama's favorite song, Hotel California." The room fell silent. Then came the first strum, slightly off at first, then smoother, richer, as his fingers found their place. The familiar chords filled the cafe like warm air, and when Liam began to sing, his voice, soft yet soulful, cracked but pure, cut through the noise of the world. On the dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair, conversation stopped. Forks froze midair. Even the owner looked up, stunned. Liam's voice carried something beyond talent. It carried pain, love, and a longing so deep it could make you forget where you were. Each note trembled with stories untold. By the time he reached the chorus, "Welcome to the Hotel California," people were wiping their eyes. The old man in the corner lowered his cup, whispering, "He sounds like he's lived that song." When the last chord faded, silence hung heavy. Then came the sound of applause, slow at first, then louder, rising like a wave that nearly knocked the boy off his feet. People stood up, cheering, some even crying. The cafe owner, the same man who had doubted him, walked up to the stage and placed his hand on Liam's shoulder. "Son," that was something else. He reached into his pocket and handed Liam a crisp 500 peso bill. But others followed. Customers came forward, dropping money, hugs, and words of encouragement. One woman whispered, "Your voice, it healed something in me tonight." Liam's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," he said, voice trembling. "My mom used to sing this song. I think she was listening tonight." That line broke everyone. The video of that performance, recorded by a customer on her phone, went viral overnight. Within hours, it flooded Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Young Filipino boy brings everyone to tears with Hotel California. People couldn't get enough. The raw emotion, the innocence, the pain behind every note, it was all too real. Music producers reached out. News channels came looking for the mysterious street kid. And by the next week, Liam found himself on a real stage for the first time, this time on Philippines Got Talent. The judges looked skeptical when the small boy with the old guitar walked in. But when he started singing, something magical happened again. The same silence, the same tears. By the end of the performance, the crowd was on its feet, and then the golden buzzer confetti rained down as Liam fell to his knees, crying, clutching his guitar to his chest. On Lip TV, he looked up and whispered, "Mommy, I did it." Months later, Liam was no longer playing on the street. He was touring schools, performing on shows, using his earnings to open a small music center for underprivileged kids, Mama's Melody Foundation. He never forgot the waitress who gave him his first chance. In his first concert, he brought her on stage and said, "This is the woman who opened the door when the world shut it." The crowd roared, and that night, under the lights, Liam sang Hotel California one more time, not as a street noise, but as a symbol of what kindness and courage can do. His voice still trembled, still cracked, but now it carried something even more powerful: gratitude. As the last note faded, the audience stood in silence once again, heads over hearts. Then the applause came, louder than ever, echoing through the hall. In the back of the stage, a single empty chair stood with a rose on it, a quiet tribute to his mother. And somewhere, if you listened closely enough, it almost felt like her voice.